What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Huddle, your weekly playbook helping you gain forward progress in your flooring career. We are here to help you guys win. So, welcome aboard to our new viewers. Welcome to the team. What's up, fellas?
What's
Oh,
going
Sam and
on?
Jake, just in time. Hey, we've been waiting on these guys
Can
to
you
get
hear
their
us?
video issues going, and looks like they got her done. What's up,
It was
guys?
what with the phone.
How's it going?
Good to
Good. How
see
you guys
ya.
doing today?
Right? Great to see you guys too. Can you hear us all right?
We
Yeah.
can.
Phenomenal. All right, looks like we got it figured out, my man.
Were you
All good.
guys on a computer and then like decided to, hey, the phone always works?
Yep, that's exactly what
Yeah.
happened.
Until you get a phone call.
Yeah, right.
You
Until
gotta
you
put it
get a
on Do
phone
Not
call.
Disturb.
It's a good idea.
Right.
We're excited though for today.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll give it a little bit of time. Looks like we got some viewers coming on right now. Um, Today's talk is about insurance and the importance of it. And, we always like to bring guests on for you guys when possible, when it's appropriate. And we got some experts from Federated. A quick little intro before I have Sam and Jake kind of give their introduction is Federated is maybe one of the best construction, specifically specialty construction insurance providers. We have it here at Stewart and Associates in my company. I think that Preferred has it. I know a lot of companies in the FCICA that have it. And we would love for our subcontracting community to reach out to these guys as well. So they have saved us a ton of money over the last couple of years, and we've had a great thing. We went through cybersecurity issue with them, and so we've had some. We've put them to the test. So it's not just saying they gave us a good rate. We actually put them to the test. So if you need insurance, reach out to Federated. So Jake, Sam, tell me and the audience a little bit about yourself.
No, yeah, appreciate it. We're currently located in the Grand Rapids area. We focus on commercial insurance for contractors, like you said, flooring, roofing, HVAC, electrical contractors. That's where we like to play at. We kind of joke around. We're made for contractors, by contractors. Used to be a contractor myself, so we're in the trades as much as not as much as you guys have, but we understand and appreciate what you guys go through on a daily basis. And Sam here is our risk consultant.
All right, we're gonna have you explain what that means.
No, happy to. So essentially, I work with Jake out of the Grand Rapids area. I actually cover the majority of Michigan, other than kind of the Detroit, Flint area. I pretty much have everything else, including Saginaw, Traverse City, the UP. And essentially, I work with Jake and all the other contractors that he was kind of listing off there, at least from risk management practices, kind of industry-specific safety trainings geared towards them and the things they want. Anything from housekeeping stuff, from employee handbook help, different things, different advice that they might need with regards to their own risk management practices. In all reality, I'm a little bit of a, hit me with a question and I'll let you know what I find.
Gotcha.
I think all you guys are kind of like that, though, aren't you?
Oh yeah, there's I believe 60 plus other me's across the United States that work with Federated. So yeah, we're there's quite a few of us out there.
So guys, to the audience here, one of the benefits of working with somebody who specializes in construction and commercial insurance, as opposed to going to your cousin who works at State Farm and getting your coverage, is most of these guys will have an awesome tool that you can go online and get toolbox talks and safety talks and all these types of things. So when you're required to do a daily report or a safety meeting or something like that for your guys, or on a project, that you actually have a tool go give you a topic, you can run through the topic. And so that's a really easy thing that they do, but it's really valuable. And if you're a sub out on a job having to do these things, it's super nice to have that right at your fingertips. Am I echoing to you guys at all?
You are. I think it's
No,
just the
you sound
phone.
great.
He sounds good on your side.
Yeah, sounds great to us.
It's probably our phone.
Could be
Okay.
us.
Well, we'll live with it. It's not horrific,
It might be
but
because the speaker is on the bottom too. If you turn it sideways, it might go away.
Send it over.
Oh, then you are sideways.
Anything? No, we're just
well,
sideways.
Adjust. Yeah, you might want to
yeah.
just turn it back and just get closer together. I mean, you guys are brothers, right? You
Right.
guys are a team, cheek to cheek. You'll be fine. Oh,
There we go.
How's that?
All right, we're all fixed now.
I guess
good?
that means that Jake probably should have just had you take control of the technology from the start.
Yeah,
it could've
that's
been
where
worse.
we messed up there. We fumbled that one.
Okay, so guys, let us know in the chat what you guys are struggling with. If you are struggling with anything when it comes to insurance, but I want to let Jake and Sam give a little bit of an overview of what. I mean, I chimed in there, but give us an overview of like why should specialty contractors or, you know, a lot of our audience, we have everything from big flooring contractors that jump on here and watch to two guys that have a business and they go out and they install floors for businesses and such. So give everybody a taste of why it's important to have the proper insurance and the proper partner in that insurance.
Definitely. I think you said it great there. We see ourselves more as a partnership with you guys, especially, Daniel knows that, Jose knows that.
Yeah.
Partnership instead of like a vendor. We want you to be able to call us, text us on our personal phones. Just like you guys would do with your normal, with your normal business. But we're a little bit different because right now with the economy being, harder out there, we've been seeing a lot more policies have shrinkflation. So you're paying the same price, but you're getting a lot less. Just like when you guys go buy a bag of chips or you go buy that Gatorade and now it's half the size, but you're still paying the $5. It's happening to your insurance too, surprise or not. That stuff's happening out there. We're calling it shrinkflation, or that's what they're kind of deeming it as. But we're seeing that a lot. So it's just important to have a specialist like us. We do about 8 months of training where your normal agent does about 2 weeks. So we know it really, really in depth, and we can, put you head to head against really any agent out there when it comes to coverage wise. So that's something that, you'll have an expert that knows your industry looking at it and making sure that, you're getting a fair premium for that coverage. Instead of a lot of agents are just not coming in anymore. They're just sending it in the mail. And then the policies are going, down in coverage and people are having no idea. They're like, oh, the premiums stay the same. It's great. Which it just puts them in a bad spot.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something that be a reason why to come look for one of us. And we're a direct writer. So we work directly for the carrier. Think of us kind of like a general contractor, where your normal agent is a subcontractor. So they go and try to find you a carrier. They try to get, put you through somewhere else, and they kind of play the middleman role where you're getting it right from the horse's mouth. That's why you're able to get your certificates much faster, bonded projects much faster, because you're going right to it. And usually there's a good little savings on that too, because you're cutting out the middle person.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Jake
Yeah.
knows. I always come back to him like, hey man, I need the certificate like right now.
Or I just bought this truck, or whatever it
Yeah.
happens. We
Right.
take
Well,
care of it.
I just bought this truck and place everything, please.
getting quick certs for our projects for us is important. And Federated's done a great job. And I don't want this to just turn into a Federated thing, but it just so happens that it's Federated guys talking about insurance, and all of the hosts on here use that insurance. So it's kind of natural. So you talked about the coverages and stuff. I think one piece of this that's important to point out is you guys understand construction and construction coverages also. So one of the things that is important when you're going to get insurance, and say you do go to your cousin that works at State Farm, is my example earlier. If they don't know construction, they don't understand the limits. These guys will ask you, hey, do you have any limits that's required by the companies that you're working for, or any of that? For example, we got a $5 million umbrella policy. That's not needed by everybody,
Mm-hmm.
And so these types of things, they'll help you stay in compliance, because one of the things that we've noticed with subs is our GCs are requiring our subs to have the same level of insurance as we have. That didn't used to be the case, but it's more and more happening. So those are questions that, subcontractors or labor providers out in the ether, performing work for other flooring companies may not, know what those coverages should be or where they're at, what the general requirements are. So can you talk a little bit about that and how you guys approach that?
Is when it comes to coming up with like the limits and everything.
Yeah. Yeah. How
So
do you help the insured get the right coverage that you were talking about?
Yeah, so what we do is we do what's called a right report meeting, which is about 45 minutes, and we go through all the way from the top to the bottom of their business, starting off with, hey, how'd you get started, Paul? Give me the started in the garage story. We want to hear that. That's probably
A
one of
good
my
old
favorite parts of
origin
the job.
story.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So that's probably one of my favorite parts of the job, is getting to see that American dream kind of keep living on, and getting to see that and walk through the huge buildings they built nowadays. So we start with that part, and then we really just go through their day to days, and like you said, we understand the materials, the labor part, the customers paying 60 to 90 days out, so you might be on the hook for a little bit, and all the kind of intricate stuff that goes into it. We were at an account today, and it was an electrical contractor. We were looking at how much coverage should he have for labor and materials if he's on a job site and another trade burns down the building, but he hasn't got paid yet, right? So kind of coming up with those limits, and he's like, well, how do I know that? And I can tell you his policy that he had was way off, about 400,000 off, which
Yeah.
is enough to put most businesses out of business.
Yeah.
And to get that change was about $500 a year, and that just takes somebody that knows the industry to come in there. So that's real life examples of kind of what we would do, but we would go from top to bottom of customizing your package to exactly what you need. Not no one packages are the same, and just making sure that what you have is really adequate. And then we take both of them at the end. We take your current policy and then we take our new one side by side, so it's clearly showing you what you have versus what you could have. So there's no really guessing game to it, which is really nice, kind of black and white for you guys that are super
I will
busy.
say that the side-by-side comparison that he's talking about is what took us away from the gentleman that we were with. And just so you know, I don't know if I ever told you this, but the gentleman that we used for our insurance previously, I've been with him since the first vehicle I ever bought. So you know what I mean? So I've had insurance through them since I was, let's just say, 18 years old. And I still currently have insurance through them because they know my
Home
story
and
from day
stuff like
one, and it's a comfort thing, and they treat me very well. So that's who you guys took us away from, and that's very hard to do for clients. But the side by side comparison, it was a no brainer. It was like, dang, we're really missing out on a lot.
Yeah, and one of those things that I think are valuable through that process is like materials in transit.
Yeah.
The sub comes, picks up materials from your office. Who's responsible if that vehicle gets in an accident? And um, generally, the auto insurance is not going to cover that material in the back.
No.
If you're driving a truck or a van full of LVT. So what happens if something happens? I've had the pleasure of having two cars catch on fire,
Oh no.
Oh
and
no!
in my lifetime, and in both cases, if I would have had materials in the back, they would have been completely lost, right? So the in transit stuff, the things that you don't think about around the edges is what somebody who writes these policies can do for you, that again, like somebody that's used to writing home policies or vehicle policies may not know the right questions to ask. That in transit part, you guys mentioned material stored on site, where builder's risk insurance should cover that. There's often not builder's risk insurance on every job. And so you get for $500 a year, that's why it's called insurance. It's a good insurance policy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. So
You have to have it. You have to have it.
Oh, for sure.
yeah, you got to have it. So you might as well make sure you have it right. And I think some of the misconceptions, is that you guys are going to be more expensive than others. I can tell you from a good sized commercial policy with our company, you guys saved us a lot of money. I would assume that you'd be competitive in the guys who go pick up materials from a retailer, take them to a job site and install them, that you'd still be competitive in that realm as well.
Definitely, yeah. No, we're
Mhm.
competitive contractors overall, and that's we focus a lot on deductibles, risk management, and we see that we put accounts on, and then in 2 or 3 years their premium is really closer. And we have a lot of, especially for the bigger accounts, we have big deductibles we can put in play, and if you're willing to do the stuff safe, we can really save you a ton. I'm talking 25,
Yeah.
50 a year for some of the big boys, which
Yeah.
is
Yeah, we did a 15, I think it's a 15,000 self-funded
yeah.
piece,
Mhm.
and it saved us a ton of money. So if you're a big contractor out there watching those types of deals, and I didn't get offered that by my other insurer, by the way. So just FYI on that, not everybody, maybe everybody has the product, but they don't like, no, again, like Sam just said, you guys went through 8 months of training. Is that correct? Did I get that right?
Yeah.
That's to get to know their product line in and out. And whereas some other people may not know the product line as a broker, they're going out to Nationwide and to Chubb and to all these other, Allied and all these carriers. And all the carriers have different products that they carry. So it's really hard for a single person to know all of the different products. But that one thing saved us a bunch of money. So if you're a big contractor out there, those are the types of things you can get with someone who really knows what they're doing. Yeah, and if you're a smaller guy, these guys are going to be competitive for you. So don't be scared to reach out to a federated or even a larger insurance firm. I wanted this to be really about insurance overall, so I'm going to get into a little bit of that,
Yeah.
For sure.
and talk a little bit about um, what are the let's talk about some horror stories that
Oh, you.
Here we
you
go.
guys may have had where either improper coverage, lack of coverage, or no coverage, or any of those stories. I don't want to scare the audience, but I want them to understand that why you guys are here, and like Jose said earlier, like you got to have it.
Mhm. Yeah, no. So, I mean, at least on the coverage side of things, that's all Jake's realm. I'm more on the risk management, trying to stop these things before they happen, mitigate your guys' claims. But at least from a horror story standpoint, this isn't necessarily a specific story, but this is something I love to talk about with all of our clients. Is essentially there's this statistic out there because you get some people out there that are like, I've got insurance, so if I have a fire, I'm good. I've got insurance, right? But at the end of the day, 40% of businesses that suffer a fire never reopen. And of the 60% that do reopen, 25% fail within the first year. So there's a
Ooh.
better than average chance that if you, as a business owner, suffer a fire, that you may not ever open your doors again, right? So it's just important and being mindful of actually getting out ahead of these things before they happen, and not just kind of giving it the old brush off the shoulder of, oh, well, I got insurance, because you're not also thinking about your clients, your guys' customers. They still need their products. Just because you had a fire and
Yeah.
can't provide them anymore, they still need and they're going to go get it somewhere else. And the reality of the business world is, oh, so and so just had a fire, well, I'm offering a 5% discount for all new clients that are in the same industry. You know what I mean? So
Ooh.
they kind of
Ooh.
time it out, and it's stuff I've already seen in the field myself. So
Well, and in the commercial world, we're under contract to still provide them with those materials regardless.
Yeah.
I mean, even if I'm sitting in my living room because my office building is a pile of rubble, I still have to get some orders moving and things moving, and someone has to pay for that. And I need my insurance to come to the table. And one of the coverages that is important if you do have a warehouse is the difference between materials stored and your inventory. So if you have your materials covered only to the amount of your inventory, but you don't have any of your customers' products covered, you're at risk.
oh
And so
yeah,
you got to make sure that you have that distinction. Even if you're like, I know some installers who have warehouses and they carry all the pad for the jobs they do, and they'll stock pad
Yeah.
for their major clients, but they also have project specific pad. So that project specific materials or adhesives or products you may have, whether it's in your garage and you're working out of your home or it's in your warehouse at a business, those materials need to be covered
Mhm.
in a different way under a different product than your inventory. Is that correct?
So
Did I say that right?
It would be under property of others. So yeah, it would be under a different spot, and it's super super cheap to insure. It's just like you said, Paul. Someone's got to ask the question. Do they know to ask the
So,
question?
Sam, I have a question, and maybe Jake can answer this too. Is for some of the viewers out there, is there, like you had mentioned the fire policy, right? Could you give some examples of what they should look for on their current insurance provider if they're not using Federated, um, to see what is actually covered or what isn't covered, right? So
Mhm.
they understand where they're lacking, right? Because details matter when it comes to insurance.
For sure.
The same thing with like homeowners and flood insurance. There are certain instances where you think you're protected, but maybe not everything is protected. And is there any literature that they need to look for to give them kind of a, the aha moment where, you know what, maybe I should try to do a side by side comparison to make sure that I am covered.
No, definitely. They should get a policy every year, either by email or by mail. I know you guys are both with Federated, so we drop off the old-fashioned actual notebook, or we see you in
Yeah,
person.
keep
The
doing that.
binder.
Yeah. So we're still doing the big binder, which I haven't seen another one out there yet. I'm seeing mostly emailed copies or 10-page ones sent in the mail, which, like you said, Jose, the devil's in the details. So it's probably not going to say that, the bad things in those 10 pages. They're probably going to have that on one of the other large pages. So just getting a full copy from your agent saying, hey, I want a full copy. And then looking through the exclusions, looking through, hey, how much inventory? Do I have all my autos on there? Because we're just seeing a lot of agents not keeping stuff up to date if you aren't, which at the end of the day, you pay them to keep it up to date. So it's really just something that going through the declaration pages, looking at exclusions, making sure they have everything that they're supposed to have on there. Things they don't
Yeah.
want, like co-insurance,
Mhm.
stuff like that.
And
That's
Federated
a
does a pretty good job. Jake's usually calling me and is like, "Hey, I need to come visit you."
Mm-hmm.
He's just
Really.
hoping that we have tacos here one time he comes over. I know it. I know it.
It was one time.
yeah, the fire thing is uh I want to go back to that just because the stats are so crazy. So
Right.
you said 40% of the companies go out of business after a fire.
Yeah, 40% never
And
reopen the
then
doors.
of the 60% remaining, only 20 or 25% of them will also shut their doors down within the next couple of years.
Correct.
Within
Yep.
1 year.
In fact, there's a couple numbers online. I believe it's FEMA. Don't ask me the translation. I don't know it right off the top of my head. But they say about 60% of businesses will never reopen. So a
Well,
little bit
yeah, if
higher
you
than
got
ours.
100, you got 40 out, and of the
Mhm.
60 left, you're gonna have 15 of them go out, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Man,
And so that puts you at 55%.
Yeah.
Um, so that's a staggering stat. What is the maybe Jose was kind of driving at this. What is the number one reason for
for that.
companies
Yeah.
not opening back up? Like, what is the reason behind some of that? Do you know?
I would say they don't have the funding. They weren't able to pay the employees because if they don't have the right business income coverage. So you go out of business tomorrow, Paul. It's going to take you 12 months to rebuild a building, get back going up to speed. What are your workers going to do the next 12 months? And that's really where it hurts them. Is they want to stay with you, they want to work with you, but they have a family and bills to pay also. So they got to go find a job, and that's where I think it comes down to a lot of now they can't rehire real fast and just kind of get it going all in one day again. They took them years to get those good employees. So I think that's a big part of it. And then just the funding where they just had to rebuild a building because they were down on their policy. I mean, I've seen 200, 300 grand out of pocket people have had to pay to rebuild their buildings. And I know we're talking about fires a lot, and I'm sure you guys have seen it. The lithium ion batteries are on a huge recall for DeWalt, Milwaukee, for the overcharging. People are leaving them charging overnight so that they're ready to go for the morning. Makes sense as a contractor, but they're not stopping and they're just burning down. We had a horror story. A couple weeks ago, somebody parked their truck and trailer in the shop for the night, went over to the house, and woke up in the morning and it was all burnt to the ground. Because the lithium ions just kept going. So that's just someone that, was trying to be prepared for the morning, get everything going, but we're not seeing cutoff switches on them. And I've kind of had a creative but funny joke would be to have like a Christmas timer, have an hour and then it times out. But, that's kind of that would be the obvious thing for them to do something like that. But right now they're just not stopping.
Yeah, and that's what was one of the main things that Sam came and talked to us about was the batteries and how, because it's real easy to buy these knockoff batteries that you don't know what they're going to do, right? Because you buy a one for half the price of a regular, like we use Milwaukee, so you buy one for half the price and then it doesn't have those regulations in it, or you buy a charger that's off brand and the same thing, it doesn't have that regulation in it, so it's just gonna do whatever it wants.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. That's something I'm going to do something about. I don't know that I've heard that, so I'm glad to have sat on this podcast, and I hope our audience, anybody that's watching, pays attention to that. That's a fascinating, with the right insurance coverage, like here, if that was to happen, we have policies that put us up, get us computers, put us in a temporary workplace. We get back to work, try to keep, start ordering materials for materials that were lost, and all of our servers are off site, so we're right back up in business and doing the thing as best. I mean, you're obviously far behind the 8 ball if this happens at all to anybody, so it's a bad scenario, but you can, without the proper coverage, I could see someone like just not wanting to go through that. You know what I mean? Like why spend, especially if you're a little older in age, like I'm not going to spend my life savings on rebuilding this place. I'm just going to close it up,
Yeah, which is
build a teepee, man.
Yeah. No, it's the unfortunate reality of the stuff that we see out there. And and it's not just, smaller companies that are at risk of this. I've seen it happen to bigger companies too that are like, there's no way, but one of your main manufacturing facilities goes down, and now it's like, okay, all my customers are leaving, my employees are getting other jobs, similar to what Jake said, because they've got families they need to feed. And they want to be loyal to you, but at the end of the day, it's business, right? So you got to do.
And is there a policy that covers for a manufacturing plant's a good example of something that would be a little tougher to get just back up to business tomorrow? I mean, if your equipment all burned down, I mean, waiting for that equipment to come in and fill in orders, and the people who run the equipment, what are they going to do? Is there policies to cover them for a certain amount of time to pay employees for non-productive work almost?
Yeah, so there's a business income, and you actually have it too, Paul, based on what you were describing. So yeah, you'd have 12 months of income. So they're getting paid while they're rebuilding, and they're part of the team, and you would also get your salary too. Which, I mean, that changes a life. That we're trying to give you like you said, it's gonna be very hard to go through this, but we're trying to give you a fighting chance to survive. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be a small hill to climb, but without this, you're done.
You're toast. No pun intended, but you're you're kind of toast after that if you don't have some way to put your best foot forward. Like I said, you're behind the 8 ball anyway. I mean, it's a bad situation. I mean, can you imagine all the materials you'd have to reorder for all your projects, and where you're at and what you've bought and what you've installed versus all that kind of stuff? That's just a nightmare to even think about. But I'm gonna go check my lithium batteries after this, I'll tell you that.
There you go.
For sure. I got a question for you guys. Paul had mentioned IT coverage, and we're talking about vehicles and warehouses. Compared to the standard insurance company that's out there, and might blanket a lot of different things that are common in construction, but not specific to a trade. How customizable do you guys think, or do you guys feel your guys' policies are for individual companies? And since we're in the flooring business, we're just going to say flooring. It's like compared to other companies out there, other insurance companies?
Yeah. So for example, how we do it with your flooring one, is we have a flooring package. So think of it like you guys have seen those books back in the day where it was like, how to drive for dummies, the yellow ones and the black ones. Kind of how these are. It's a flooring package, so they're all flooring based questions, and they tell us what flooring based questions to ask, and we learn that type of business, what could be their exposures. So I would say very customizable compared to your normal insurance policy. They're gonna take you as just a normal, let's say, grocery store, and they're gonna make you fit a flooring contractor. They're gonna add contractor coverage to this basic policy, and they're gonna add a vehicle policy, and they're gonna try to add a lot of stuff, which what happens is they miss a lot of stuff. So they don't cover subcontractors work. They don't cover your transportation like you were talking about, or the materials, because that's all stuff that they have to know to add in individually, where our package is already built in. I'd have to skip that blank to be able to get to the next one, where they have to add that one in and know to add that one in, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
So
it does. And I kind of already knew the answer to that. I just wanted to ask for everybody else who's listening, and because everybody's out there afraid to ask questions about insurance right now. So if you guys
Right.
are listening, you're live, don't be afraid to ask questions. This is a good time to do it.
Yeah, please.
It said too, as I did notice, like going from our previous policyholder to you guys, it's instead of having blocks of coverage already pre-grouped together, predetermined for us, when we switched over, there was a lot of questions on what do you guys need? What would you guys, what do you guys need? What do you think you need? And here's the real information on what isn't covered under those blocks that you currently have. And I think that's really what helped us too. And just for everybody out there, we might have made a lateral movement as far as the dollar amount that we were paying out for coverage, but the coverage cap was extended a lot. Like we were
You got
paying
more for what you
this
paid.
line right here, but we had way more coverage when we swapped over, and that was very, very comforting.
definitely.
Yeah, no, that's great to hear. There's the saying out there, if sometimes you get what you pay for. And I mean, that's true for just about everything, including insurance too. So, not to say
Well,
that,
I know insurance isn't the sexiest thing on the planet, and our audience is more quiet. This is the most quiet I've ever seen them, not asking questions and getting advice. I wonder what's going on with it. I asked Daniel, and he said they may be scared that they don't know something about insurance, or maybe we're doing such a good job of explaining it. There's no questions left. I don't know.
I
One
hope,
of them.
I hope
But
that's the case.
yeah. So I know guys out there, audience, that the insurance part is sometimes scary. It's sometimes like one of them deals like I don't want to get it, or I don't think I need it, or it's one of them deals where you're our company requires it. So anybody who works for us has to have the full insurance, but as a subcontractor. But I know that there's a lot of companies out there. They're using guys that maybe not have their insurance up to par. So don't be scared to ask the questions, though, guys. Regardless of where you stand with insurance, we'd love to have your comments and questions. Jake and Sam both came on here to answer some of your questions. So
I
jump
think
on in.
they get scared with insurance, right? Because like Jake was saying earlier, sometimes you get a policy and then you have to do something in order to cover yourself, and it's only a difference of like $500. And I think sometimes some of these guys that just work by themselves are like, $500, man, I only pay like $700 a year. But that's when it's time to look at your insurance and see if you're covered for everything that you have. Because I mean, he does a good job on coming here and it's like, do you still have this? Do you still have that? Is there anything that we need to add? It's something that you got to do on, I mean, what are you here, like at least twice a year just talking about that?
Yeah, I would say at least.
I mean, he's here
Yeah, and
more
you
than
got
that, but
you got equipment. You guys out there that are installing. I mean, you have equipment in the back. You got to have equipment coverage. What if you get your tools stolen out of your trailer?
Yeah.
Those types of things. There's coverage for all of that, and a lot of times it's not that expensive. So I don't want to anybody be intimidated, but it's not hard to reach out. And like I have said plenty of times here, we have federated, so does the preferred guys. Um, Reach out to them and just get a quote. We're working on some technology to help make that easier for our Go Carrera members.
Battery's
But
gonna
I,
die. Must have an
Something
iPhone.
like that.
No,
but
no.
at the end of the day, like Jose said early on, we got to have this stuff. And if you don't have it, you're at risk. So
Well, that's the thing that you were saying earlier too, right? Is that a lot of these contractors are having your subcontractors, your trade partners get the same kind of coverage that you have. And a lot of these guys don't realize that the coverage that you need in order to do some of these projects. I mean, I just was emailing Jake, was that last week or the week before? I have a project where they want us to have that $5 million cap like you have, and it's like that's project specific over here. Everyone else is just at $2 million, but this one is like 5 million, which is crazy because it's a super tiny project.
yeah. Yeah, ours is an airport project, and it's not a big project. I mean, it's $100,000, so it's not a huge job or anything. It's a good sized project, but they required a $5 million umbrella policy. Now, I'm not, most of our audience, except for the flooring companies, shout out to, I've got to remember the name of the company, but I was at the Fuse conference last week, and a couple of guys came up to me and said, "Hey, man, love seeing you guys on the Huddle." And Fuse members
Nice.
is 180 of the largest flooring contractors in the United States. So to have some of those guys watching us on here is pretty cool. So we have some bigger flooring companies watching as well. And in those cases, these umbrella policies come into to take. Now, not to scare the subs, you will never likely have to have an umbrella policy at all. Those things are typically going to be covered by us, and you would not have the requirement as a labor provider, as a subcontractor, to have that. So, didn't want any misconceptions on that. But we are about 15 minutes from a full hour on here, and I have asked all the questions and that I can think of that apply to my company. Do you guys, Jose or Daniel, what else? You guys got anything else to throw out there? And then I want to leave Jake and Sam here to kind of give their final pitch, so to speak.
As far
I mean, it's inviting the risk consultant over to your spot. I mean, he told me he was coming, so I didn't invite him, but I mean, it's nice knowing that, we are doing things right, because before he even contacted us, I just replaced fire extinguishers and stuff like that because
he saved us from potential fire too.
Yeah, no, I mean
The electrical box.
yeah, no, exactly. That's one of the other things. I believe, not to sit here and talk up Federated the whole time by any means,
Yeah,
but
no, do it.
one of the things of just trying to bring the value before things happen. Obviously, we want to take care of you guys, and that's the whole goal of insurance. God forbid your worst day, but on our end, we're taking action on this stuff before it happens, scanning your guys' electrical panels with infrared cameras to see if we find anything running hot. If something's running hot, we'll let you know and inform you, hey, you might want to have an electrician look at this because this might be a disconnect within your service panel right here. Again, stopping the fires before they happen, a lot of different stuff like that. And, checking fire extinguishers, making sure that if a fire does happen, you guys are well prepared to put it out. Because, I mean, one of the first things I saw when I went for my 8 months of training was essentially auto service car up on one of the lifts starts to catch on fire a little bit. The workers are scrambling because they don't know where the fire extinguishers are. They finally find the fire extinguishers. They go to use it. Nothing comes out because they haven't been serviced. Now the whole building burns down where this could have been contained. It seems like it's a little thing, and it seems like it's just another thing. But at the same time, this could be the difference of putting you into that 40 to 25% statistic about fires I rolled out earlier, or a minor claim that, an insurance company can cut checks for all day, right?
Yeah.
Do you guys offer educational classes or educational booklets online or physical booklets for business owners, no matter how big, how small, just something for them to educate themselves and make sure that they are meeting a specific standard or their current safety conditions are up to par.
I wouldn't say we have like a certain to-do list or checklist for them, but I mean we do hold what's called the RMA, so Risk Management Academies, back at our home office in Minnesota, and then also online in Michigan, where we actually come out for a couple days and talk about main risk in your industry. There are industry-specific ones, so contractors ones, auto dealer ones, and then there's just kind of a general one, but they talk a lot about kind of everything that we've been talking about today, and another big piece they make on, and kind of touch closest to us is the like succession plans, making sure that the business legacy is going to carry on to that next generation. I know even you smaller guys, someday, a lot of my guys now, 4 or 5 years ago, they were out of their garage and now they have their own building. So it's one of those things you just got to keep pushing for and looking forward to. And we kind of help out when that time is ready to kind of get you that retirement plan ready. Because our goal is for you to, pass the business down, get some money coming in, and then go live your life that you've earned,
No,
Awesome. That's
here.
pretty cool.
Yeah, no,
I don't know if it's weird hearing that somebody cares about my family more than I do. Holy smokes, man!
We do. We've seen it the other way where we're delivering death checks to families, and it's they don't have certain stuff in place, or maybe they do, and it's usually different situations. So we try to always get you in that best situation.
Awesome.
I guess for the smaller guy, what do they need in order to set them up for success?
For like within their business or with like handbooks wise.
So you said that someone starting from their garage and then going up. What is that starting point? What is going to be like? Hey, it's going to be you need these things in order to proceed.
Well, you'll probably need like general liability to start off, right? If you're going to get on projects with like a certificate. And then once you hire that first person on your company, you need to have your work comp insurance. So that's workman's comp, pretty simple. Not too expensive. I think right now it's like $600 a year for the minimum amount, which is about 60 grand in payroll, which would get you a guy for the year to start off. So I mean, at least having some kind of work comp, some kind of general liability. You can have autos on there, not required or anything like that, but at least having some general liability, because that's going to cover third party. So you mess up somebody's house you're working on, or you're in an auto accident, you hit somebody. I mean, that's the basic stuff. You probably already have auto anyways, because everyone has auto insurance, but yeah, general liability, work comp once you get one person.
Yeah. And then from a risk management standpoint / housekeeping, I would say getting something in place for an employee handbook. I don't care if it's you and 2 other guys that are your buddies. At the end of the day, this is more about protecting you, yourself, your business. I would say the big thing, and if going back on Jake's auto point, if you do have autos, some kind of driving policy in place, because we always like to use a saying of, if it's not in black and white, in a court of law, it didn't happen, right? There's no, oh yeah, we agreed to this. Well, next thing you know, that guy didn't agree to it when there's money sitting on the table, right? So if you lay it out there in a contract, let them know what the expectations are, lay it out pretty clear. And I mean, even for some of the smaller guys, you can find different employee handbook templates that are customizable online, right?
I mean, we talk about AI all the time too, right? This is, you can talk to Chat GPT and just say, hey, I need an employee handbook. This is what should be included. These are my ideas.
Easier than it's ever been.
Spit me something out.
But I mean, you can even buy like if you wanted a lawyer scrub version of it. Not that I'm not saying, I mean, you can go to the AI route if you'd like to. But if you wanted a lawyer scrubbed employee handbook, you could probably find one online. I don't think they cost very much at all. You know what I mean?
Well, and you can have one built. We had a HR company build ours, and it was not outrageous. I mean, a sub may not need to do that. You may, if you're getting started. I'm glad you brought that up, because I wish it was something we did years and years earlier than what we ended up doing it. But employee handbook with the rules and policies and procedures of your company, if you start that early on, you have started a good culture for your company to document things. I know the preferred guys went through the same pain I did, which is just you went and started work and you got you really, what we did is create a bunch of technical debt onto ourselves, debt in the not in the money way, but in the way of all these things we needed to do to actually have a business,
Mm-hmm.
from the employee handbooks, policies and procedures, a training platform, all this stuff that we now have. But if you start early on with those core principles, I'm glad you brought that up because that's a great piece of advice for a new business owner or someone who's smaller wanting to grow.
Yeah, no, and I mean, it's not even something, not that I think you guys feel any embarrassment about, and I hope none of the viewers out there do either, but that's the reality of a lot of businesses out there is they get caught up, start doing the stuff, and next thing you know, it's like one thing leads to another, and you're like, holy cow, we're growing like crazy, but I don't have any of these policies or procedures in place that you've either wanted to, or it's just kind of taken a back burner.
Yep.
Like I said, it's a
And
housekeeping
Or you didn't
thing.
know.
it's
Yeah.
one of them constant things that you're always going to be doing. Like a training platform, we're always adding to ours. Your policies and procedures are a living document. They're going to always change and stuff. But if you can start when you're just you and your cousin or you and the guy and you're working out of your garage, professionalism, those business principles are probably, if I have no data to back this up, but I would say that is a high percentage of the failures in small companies, where they go out of business and start another business with their other friend and they go to do another. I mean, that happens all the time in the subcontracting world, but it's because they did not put any of the core principles of owning a business. They just think they're an installer in their head, but they're a business owner. And your service or your providing your product is your labor, but that's no different than a convenience store selling a Snicker bar. It's
Mm-hmm.
just a different product. And so you starting off with some professionalism is a great piece of advice.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
like I said, I mean, it's one of the most common things I see. And again, all the stuff that we're kind of talking about here too with the housekeeping stuff is stuff that Federated, I mean, I think you guys can kind of chat on it a little bit more, but all stuff that we help provide as well and help, help you guys fill in some of maybe the holes or parts that you guys are missing out on, right?
Yeah.
So again, the whole goal is always to just better protect you guys because the better we protect you, hopefully the longer you stay with us too.
And that's the thing, right?
Amen.
We're letting you guys know the growing pains that we've gone through because we went from having nothing to then you start growing and then someone comes and is like, hey, we need your employee handbook. And then it goes from you just need an employee handbook to we need an employee handbook with this specific stuff in there. And then it's like, all right, now you got to change it. And then you go from that to, oh, we also need a site specific safety plan. We need your entire safety handbook. And then without these things, you're scrambling. So it's easier to put those in right now when you
Well,
don't
it's easier
need
to do
them.
it one at a time, and then
Right.
you end
Yeah.
up needing, what happened to me anyway was like all that happened at one time. I got a job that needed, a safety manual. I had to build a safety manual for the company, and then it was a site specific safety plan, then a hazardous materials handling plan, and you know, all this stuff. You're gonna get there as you grow, but I also had to do the employee handbook, I mean, it's like I just had if you do it in steps, you're not inundated with that barrage of having to have all that at one time. That's how it happened to me anyway, and it was kind of a stressful time trying to make sure I was doing all that stuff right. And it's been
Yeah.
over decades ago at this point, but it's still,
Still
like you
remember
said,
it.
Daniel, getting going like that and doing those little things now. So, well, we managed to fill a full episode up about insurance, and that is an accomplishment on all of our parts. And
We didn't even
partially,
touch on auto
uh,
exposure or anything like that. We highlighted it. I mean, we could do a whole other episode on stuff like that. Believe me, I've got plethora of topics you guys would want to talk about.
yeah, well, we'll definitely keep doing this because I think it's valuable. Even though the interaction's down a little, the fact is that this gets consumed at a high level with a lot of viewership on the podcast platforms, and this information is critical for people to understand. So we'll definitely have you guys back on, and partially it was you guys doing so well on the podcast. We really appreciate you joining us today and engaging and giving us some good, valuable information. I know a couple of steps I got to go take care of as soon as I get off the podcast.
Check
In
those
fact,
batteries.
check those batteries.
Right.
Tell my warehouse guys, hey man, let's not leave those things plugged in at all if
And it's
someone's
just, I
not
think
here.
it's something that a lot of people don't think about. But if you just look at in terms of just the iPhone, Apple doesn't let you use a cord at all that's not certified by them.
Yeah.
So that's
There's a reason behind it.
is because if you use a cord that's not certified, that's when phones start blowing up.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's in everything
All
too. You
right.
see it in vape pens, Teslas. That's all the same lithium-ion batteries. You know,
I had
all the
one of
stuff
my
that
warehouse
fires from.
guys have a vape pen blow up in his pocket about
Yep.
6 months ago. So
Yep.
yeah, that stuff happens.
Well, it's all calibrated, right? Like everything's calibrated and tested under certain circumstances, and you got to stay within those parameters. And just knowing some of that information is available for safety reasons through people like you guys is awesome. That you're willing to absorb all of that information and then share it as it comes to you. So we appreciate everything you guys do to help make it safer for us and our employees.
Yep.
Appreciate you guys giving us a voice and, be able to come and talk on this tonight. I know we were excited about it. We got some lunch today and we were talking, hey, what are we going to, discuss? And we're just excited for it.
We never know. We're winging it, brother.
But I think that's what draws people, right? Because nothing is scripted. It's let's just get on here and start talking, see where the conversation leads.
Sure.
And I think it works out pretty good. I mean, do you guys have anything else that you think anyone needs to hear before we take off?
I would say you guys are all working hard for the money you are earning. So make sure you're not just paying it to an insurance guy you never see, right? Make sure that they are, even if they are your State Farm buddy, that's your cousin, make sure they're working and they know what should be in your policy. They can do it too. They just got to do a little bit of effort on it. Nothing against them. They're looking at 10 different policies. We're only looking at one. So it's a lot easier for us to look at that one and know it inside and out. So I would say, yeah, just make sure you're looking at it. And like Daniel said, before you guys ramp up and get, too big, just try to get some of that professional stuff in place first.
Yeah, no, we didn't even get to touch, like I said, we didn't even get to touch on the number one hazard I would at least talk about in terms of auto, at least, you know what I mean? And it's the number one issue.
Well, give people a little taste. Give people a little taste of what that is.
Give us your number
one.
one.
What is the number one? Just so people know out there.
Oh yeah, if you have an auto, even one, you have a fleet of 20 out on the road, you're at risk for anything to happen because, the 1-800 call Sam's, all that fun stuff, they're waiting for you guys to get into an accident and hurt somebody and not have your policies and procedures in place because that makes you vulnerable. So
the crazy thing is
that's what I'll leave the audience with, I guess, if I've got anything
there you go.
Join us next time for a deep dive into auto. And
well, it's not even just auto, right? That little tidbit right there leads you into how do you have your business set up, like period.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That rabbit hole goes quite a ways. You can get lost in there.
Yeah, well, I think what it really points out for this episode is how important insurance is within the entire confines of your business, not just for coverage, but it goes deeper than that. It's trying to ensure or make sure that you have all of the important pieces of your business put together in a proper way, and then properly covered. So, whether it is a driving policy or a employee handbook or a forklift, training for your forklift or whatever it is, all this stuff matters. Every time I talk about it, I can understand why people get antsy because every time I talk about it, I start thinking about, I need to make sure that I have, do I have proper direction on like taking a pallet off of these black and white things you have to have, and you can do this forever and get super deep. But for example, taking a pallet off of truck with a Tommy lift and making sure that you're applying proper safety protocols there and the weights and all this stuff. So keep real, guys out there. Appreciate you joining us again. Thank you, Sam and Jake, for joining us. Jose and Daniel, as always, you guys rock. And to all our audience out there, we've seen you join in, even though you did not want to engage on the insurance. We're going to do this again, and we'll give you a second chance to redeem yourselves. So until next time.
Redemption.
We will catch you guys next week, Tuesdays, 3 p.m. Central. If you like any of this or you didn't like it, give us a thumbs up, thumbs down, comment, subscribe. Let us know you're out there listening. So, as always, gentlemen, we'll see you guys next week.
All right.
Sounds
Take it
good.
easy.
Sounds good. Thank you, guys. Thank you for having us.
Thank you.